Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPiesieTV.com and get Spears of the Mossi Volume 1 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, From Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Piesie, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Piesie. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPiesieTV.com.
Hey, what up? What up, people? Peace, peace. Peace to the chat. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Make sure y'all please like the show. Make sure y'all please share the show. It's your brother Sutekh. I'm gonna keep this quick and brief. I know Pseudo Killers is live over there. I want to get over there myself and see what's going on, what the conversation about, what they're talking about, and I need to get my mind right. So I'm gonna make this quick. So we're gonna be talking about Moorish art. I know y'all have seen the pictures, the paintings of these Moors from the 19th and 20th century. So yeah, we'll deal with that, and I'm gonna get right on into it. So, give me a second. I'm gonna share my screen. Bro, Moroccan World News, right? So this is from Morocco. Moroccan scholar explores racist, imperialist roots of Moorish identity. You're gonna go right into it, man. This picture, you see these paintings? Y'all familiar with these, right? Moulay Abdel Rahman, the Sultan of Morocco, leaving his palace in Meknes, surrounded by his guards and his main officers. So these are the guards, the main officers. And that's Moulay right there. These are the paintings that we're familiar with when we talk about Moorish art. Mahdi Blaine, Moroccan Algerian candidate for a master's degree in anthropology and Middle Eastern studies at New York University, is raising questions and shedding light on the perceived identities of Moors throughout history. His ideas surrounding this topic make considerable contributions to understanding histories of power and race. Originally from the Rabat, 25-year-old Blaine began garnering interest around the question, who were the Moors, a few years ago. And depths of his interest in Inquisition stem from ambiguous and ambivalent depictions of these people who never claimed Moorish as their own identity throughout history. Peep that. I'm going to read it. I'm going to go back, rewind. The depths of his interest in inquisitions stem from the ambiguous and ambivalent depictions of people who never claimed Moorish as their own identity throughout history. And whatever I've been telling y'all, Moors didn't really call themselves Moors unless there was that European influence, because Moor was a European term. It's an exonym. It's a name given to a people by outsiders. So when you look at uh, Arabic literature, you don't see these terms such as Moors, Mori, Moros. You don't see that. If you Google the Moors or look at modern representations of the Moors, they are all what we would agree as racially black, Blaine told Moroccan News. However, there is clear evidence that this has not always been the case. Over the years, Blaine contemplated the iconography associated with the world. He said, I saw this incongruence and I wonder why. As he continued to explore questions surrounding contradictions of Moors made throughout history, Blaine shares his ideas with the Afikra community. Afikra is a grassroots organization intended to cultivate curiosity around Arab history and culture through discussions led by a global community of people interested in sharing intellectual thoughts around such subjects. If a recent virtual presentation hosted in a recent virtual presentation hosted by the organization, Blaine details the ways in which the figure of the Moor has been reformulated, reproduced, and used to advance agendas or legitimate positions of power. It is important to ask who were the Moors, but it is more important to ask who were the Moors according to which group of people. While the word Moor itself derives from the Greek word mavro, which literally means black or charred, for years the term was associated with a geographical designation and not necessarily racial characteristics. All right, we keep going. You see the images. Until the Muslim conquest in the early 700s, people identified Moor as being people of the Maghreb and the Iberian Peninsula, including Amazigh, which is who we call Berber people. Following the Muslim invasion, the region drew a clear distinction between Arabs and Moors. Moors had an African essence that Arabs did not. Over time, Berbers assigned racial adjectives to Moors in order to make their own clear distinction. So over time, Europeans made that distinction between tawny Moors, white Moors, black Moors. That's what they're telling you. Blaine again points to images that inform changing etymology. So now the definition and the etymology of this term Moor is beginning to change throughout time. And if you go back to my previous presentations on the Moors, you will see me saying the same thing. In the 12th and 13th centuries, depictions of Moors seem to better represent the cosmopolitan identities of people claiming roots across a wide region. He said that, in his opinion, the most accurate depictions are ones that did not limit the image of Moors to having typical features. So he's saying there need to be more variety in these depictions of Moors. Why nobody show you these pictures? And this is from the Cantigas, right? Which is written in the 13th century, 1200s. Moors were still in the Iberian Peninsula, thriving and strong, right? So would this be a primary? Where the black Moors at? They'll show you that. They show you those romantic pictures and paintings from the 19th century. Speaking of, by the 19th century, Moors were almost unanimously depicted as black. Their casted identity masked their self-proclaimed heritage or roots, simplifying them to a category of cultural otherness. Blaine stressed that nobody was calling themselves Moors. Did I just say that? I just said that, yeah, checking the chat. All right. Blaine stressed that nobody was calling themselves Moors. Rather, the term remained reserved for discourses that aim to fix specific narratives and create a figure based upon race-related identifiers, ones steeped in racism and estimated by the imagination of Europeans. So he's just making this shit up as they go. 19th century. French anthropologist Claude Levi-Strauss uses the term floating signifier to mark words with no agreed upon meaning. Blaine considers the term Moor to lack symbolic significance and instead finds people use the word to permit symbolic thought that may override inherent contradictions. Leveraging power through ambiguity. Y'all familiar with these, right? Especially this one. The Moorish chief is what is today called, what it was renamed as, right? This is, if I'm correct, it's supposed to be Maurice. We'll keep going. Political activist and scholar Edward Said, who is responsible for the concept of Orientalism, Edward Said, would describe the distinctions made as another example of Orientalism. See, I'm going through this article from top to bottom with y'all. This is my first time reading this whole thing through, right? Imperialist societies produce narratives of people from Asia, North Africa, and the Middle East in ways that inherently leverage political power. The power of the word Moors is found in its ambiguity. It allowed for European discourses to legitimize relations of power and help forge moral, cultural, and biological superiority of white Christianity, says Blaine. He cites examples of images of Moors who gave up Islam, and suddenly in new depictions of them, their skin whitens. Did you get that? He cites examples of images of Moors who gave up Islam, and suddenly in new depictions of them, their skin whitens. So, again, if y'all familiar with the previous presentations that I put together on Moors, you would have heard me say that when they say black, when they refer to these Moors as black, it's not always literal or a physical description. You understand? So they use black as a negative connotation to refer to people that these are Europeans, and they still do this today, to refer to people or things in a negative light. These European Christians thought that they were the knights of light. They were in the light, which the light is good, right? In European society. The darkness is bad in European society. Therefore, you get phrases like black is cold, black is tar. You get concepts like black cats being bad luck. So when you hear the term black when referring to Moors, we got to slow that down because it's not always the concept, the westernized concept that we have in modern times today. In addition to noting the ways in which people of color were whitewashed as they were conformed to European standards, Blaine believes that the example of ever changing Moorish imagery supports the theory that identity is fluid. You be whatever you want to be, huh? Maintaining that figure of the Moors is one defined and upheld by Europeans to denote concepts of power. Blaine expands upon ways in which people have related to the term and why. Moors became very significant in this key moment where we, the people from the Maghreb region, were in power. The people who were eventually colonized by Europe, says Blaine. In some cases, then, the historical narrative of victory is therefore claimed by Black Africans with pride. Black Americans have a history of harnessing Moorish identity by claiming Moroccan roots to achieve freedom under racial law in the United States. Moorish Science Temple, uh, Moorish Americans. In 1790, the South Carolina House of Representatives passed the Sundry Moor Act, liberating free citizens of Morocco from laws oppressing black people and slaves in the U.S. Their Moorishness got them legal rights and citizenship. But this ain't the 18th century no more. Blaine suggests that Moorish qualities linked to being Muslim and African inform larger concepts of how we think about race. His research on the topic ties directly into recent debates and scholarships concerning racism and socially constructed identities. Competing narratives rooted in racism. The figure of the Moor was not originally linked to the particular racialized group of people. As many began attending to racial and political identities of what it meant to be Moorish, suddenly so many people who were once excluded from the bounds of being Moorish became that. So the more it got ambiguous, the more it allowed for other people to claim this identity. Through constant turning over depictions of the Moors, we can better understand the ways in which projected identities are rooted in positions of power and ways of advancing nationalistic narratives. Blaine first presented his findings and ideas around Moorish depictions 2 years ago. He said that at the time, he sought to offer a coherent narrative of the Moors and imagery associated with their perceived identities. After deepening his understanding of the anthropological concepts and theories tied to construction of race and power, he realized that the identity or the definition of Moors is intentionally vague and arbitrary. Yeah, we almost down here. These the same people calling themselves Moors. That's where racism gets its power. It's not supposed to be logical, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a rationality. Blaine ident- Blaine identifies the rationale as privy to attempts to reconcile with otherness that inspires narratives used to uphold power. Referencing his coursework in assigned readings for critical race and theory classes at NYU, Blaine echoed Barbara and Karen Field's book, Racecraft, A Soul of Inequality in American Life, and said we need to stop talking about race as something that exists, but rather something that comes from racism. Racism creates race. You talking about? I ain't talking about no castrated slaves. We shit. We need to get into that though. Not today though. Not today though. All right. Okay. So those Moorish paintings, that Moorish art, keep going into it. This is Racist Slavery in the Middle East: A Historical Inquiry by Bernard Lewis. Even hold on. Before I start this, yeah, I'm on Google Books. Do I have this book? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's just easier to show y'all. So I want y'all to read along with me, man. I ain't trying to hide that. The sexual theme occurs far less frequently in Islamic art than Islamic letters, and the literary portrayal of both the black male and the black female as creatures of immense sexual appetites and power is rarely paralleled in the pictorial arts. A few examples do, however, occur in Mughal art of India. One of them, also an allusion to the same manuscript of Darabnama Homay, the mother of Darab, is murdered by a black groom. According to this story, he has a secret passion for her and murdered her one night when he came to her and she refused to submit to him. A later Mughal inscription or manuscript completed in India in 1629 illustrates a story by the Persian poet Sadi and depicts an old man who upbraids a black and a girl for flirting. Much more dramatic than either of these is the Persian manuscript of the famous Masnavi Rumi, completed in Tabriz in 1530, illustrating an episode in the poem in which a woman discovers that her maidservant copulated with her ass and tries with disastrous results to do the same. Yeah, I think that was the paragraph before they talking about bestiality and all that. Okay. The overwhelming majority of blacks who appear in Islamic paintings are, however, none of these things, neither sacred figures nor monsters, neither exotic nor erotic. They are quite simply slaves and servants. They appear in countless pictures of court life, domestic life, and various outdoor scenes, in illustrations of narrative literature and other forms of bell letters, and in Ottoman times, in the sumptuous albums portraying celebrations of special occasions at the Ottoman court. In these pictures, the black appears. In these pictures, the black appears with fair frequency. When he does so, he is almost invariably carrying a tray, pushing a broom, leading a horse, wielding a spade, pulling an oar or a rope, or discharging some other subordinate or menial task. Blacks appear as servants, attendants, and as masons and gardeners, as grooms and huntsmen, or as boatsmen. Mostly they are male, though though female figures occasionally appear. Some of the finest examples of 13th century descriptive art occur in illustrations of the Arabic literary works known as the Maqamat, a kind of poetic prose narrative. And one of them, dated 1237 and probably completed in Mesopotamia, the artist vividly portrays a slave market in Yemen in which black slaves imported from Africa are bought and sold. In another similar manuscript, completed a few years earlier in Syria, a black slave is shown bringing food, and numerous Persian, Indian, and Turkish miniatures of the 15th and 16th centuries. Blacks various Blacks variously appear as grooms, huntsmen, and servants of various kinds. So even before the modern era, even during the time of the medieval era, in Islamic art, this is the way that quote unquote blacks was depicted, right? Let's go to the Brooklyn Museum. Go to the Brooklyn Museum. Knock all these out because I ain't trying to hold y'all too long, and I know y'all got other things to do. Look at this. For example, the Moorish warrior, circa 1878. When was the quote unquote, I don't agree with this term, but you know, people use it, the golden age of the Moors, right? It's supposed to be from the 8th century to what, the 15th century. This painting was done circa 1878, well after the fact. Lush tapestries, glimmering metalwork, and contemplative warrior in this picture illustrate William Merritt Chase's imagined view of daily life in the Middle East. To create this picture for a German patron, the American-born American dude. The American-born Munich-trained Chase embraced realistic techniques popularized in Europe, as evidenced by his careful treatment of textures and light. Chase never traveled to the Middle East, instead fabricated the entire scene in the studio using a model and props. And you will see a running theme with this. You'll see a running theme with this. Most of these people have never been to these places. Most of these people are using models. Most of these people are fabricating scenery. I showed y'all that with the Moorish chief. I don't think I gotta go back to that Moorish chief again. I did like 2 or 3 videos on dude. He's not a chief. Right? Shit is crazy. This is Iberian roots of American racist thought. where we on page 164. He says, though blacks in Iberia enjoyed a certain degree of mobility within the slave setting, they were still regarded as culturally inferior and were subject to the whims of white ruling class. A significant number was employed in a domestic capacity. These slaves played a limited economic role, symbolizing instead the prestige and wealth of the slaveholder. So the more prestigious that these slaves look, the more prestige that would be for the actual slave owner. That's why you see these slaves, these guards, these servants dressed up so well, because that reflects the slave owner. All right. The most arduous work was reserved for blacks. This is Iberian Peninsula. Matter of fact, no, this is Al-Andalus, Moorish Spain, right? This is when the Moors was in full effect in Spain. In Portugal, they cleared land and dug drainage ditches. In Seville, they cleared mule droppings from the street and plazas. They had them boys picking up shit in Portugal or in Seville. In Cadiz, in 1486, 52 black slaves sweated in the salt mine. In other parts of Andalusia, blacks toiled in soap factories and transported barrels of water across great distances by mule. Free black women worked as washerwomen and prostitutes. This is the capacities that y'all was in. Yep. Oh, they was in West Africa taking the African slaves. That's how they got that several of those slave armies. Let's see. All right, man. I'm gonna play this little video for y'all. Hopefully it don't cut off. And I'm out of here. Told y'all I'm gonna make this quick. Let me throw up this Fair Use Act. The video that we will be showing is for strictly for educational purposes. Right? So the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 should handle that. Shouldn't have no problem, right? So we'll see. We'll see. I might have to keep an eye out on it though.
This is without a doubt one of the greatest collections of Orientalist paintings in existence. The Najd collection really is distinguished by real masterpiece trophy works by the top Orientalists of the 19th century. Although these paintings depict a time and a place over 100 years ago, there is something very timeless about them. The collector was fascinated by this idea of Western artists discovering the Orient. The Orient, as it was known, referred to the Mediterranean basin, which gave this genre of painting its name. I think people are drawn to Orientalist art on a number of different levels. colors of the detail, the light are just so mesmerizing and so compelling. Jean-Léon Gérôme visited Egypt for the first time in 1856 and was captivated. Riders Crossing the Desert is of Bedouin men on horseback in the blazing sun, and it's very much a symbol of mankind winning over the adversity of nature. A lot of Orientalist painters were captivated by the subject of prayer, Muslim prayer, because it was so different from the Christian prayer that they were used to. Here, Jean-Léon Gérôme has depicted all the worshippers in different positions of the prayer in order to educate, enlighten viewers at home, even though in reality the different positions would have happened in synchronicity. Osman Hamdi Bey is different from all the other artists in the collection in that he came from the region that he painted. The seated figure is, in fact, the artist himself. He often included himself in his paintings as an insider painting his own culture. What I think is really fascinating about this collection is that it focuses on people. It really is trying to capture the essence of daily life in the region. Market Day in Jaffa really is a fantastic, bustling tableau of market day in that city. There are fruit stalls, vegetable stalls, all manner of tradesmen and salesmen. So it really is a fantastically busy scene, all bathed in this wonderful Mediterranean light. These works depict a part of the world as it looked 100 or more years ago, and such a visual record today fills an important place in documenting that part of the world. There are over 20 works by Ludwig Deutsch in the Najd collection. Deutsch actually used a magnifying glass to achieve some of the detail in his pictures. He captures every link in every bit of chainmail, the jewels in the various weapons, the silk costumes, the mother-of-pearl inlaid furniture, and the decorated masonry. The Najd collection is one of the last opportunities for potential collectors to secure the very best examples of Orientalist arts.
Did y'all get that though? They're basically telling you that these portraits, these paintings, are not historically accurate. He's showing you in a part with the poses. Hold on, man. Let me go back one more time. I don't know if y'all caught the significance of that.
The collector was fascinated by this idea of Western artists discovering the Orient. The Orient, as it was known, referred to the Mediterranean basin, which gave this genre of painting its name. I think people are drawn to Orientalist art on a number of different levels. The colors of the detail, the light are just so mesmerizing and so compelling. Jean-Léon Gérôme visited Egypt for the first time in 1856 and was captivated. Riders Crossing the Desert is of Bedouin men on horseback in the blazing sun, and it's very much a symbol of mankind winning over the adversity of nature. A lot of Orientalist painters were captivated by the subject of prayer, Muslim prayer, because it was so different from the Christian prayer that they were used to. Here, Jean-Léon Gérôme has depicted all the worshippers in different positions of the prayer in order to educate, enlighten viewers at home, even though in reality the different positions would have happened in synchronicity. Osman Hamdi Bey is different from all the other artists in the collection in that he came from the region that he painted. The seated figure is, in fact, the artist himself. He often included himself in his paintings as an insider painting his own culture. What I think is really fascinating.
Hey, that boy had that fez on, didn't he? Hey, yo, man. Appreciate y'all for coming through, man. I'm not gonna hold y'all like I told you. Before I get out of here, though, you know, we're a group, but we are also a business. You know what I'm talking about? So, therefore, we have Family Connected Apparel. We have the Mboka brand clothing here. We have the Kofi Piesie Research Team brand clothing here. We have the Mossi or the Mossi. I'm gonna start being more accurate with the enunciation. The Mossi and Kofi Piesie. But yeah, we got the merch here, man. On deck, hats, anything you need, backpacks, all that good stuff. I still gotta get I actually myself, man, still gotta get me a KPRT shirt. I got me a Mossi shirt because that logo, man, that logo, that Mossi logo, just that thing be hidden. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm trying to find it. Where that thing at? Well, that's the logo. That ain't the shirt, but that's the logo. Oh, here go the shirt right here. Yeah, that thing be hidden though. So I'm gonna drop y'all hear set back there. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. My cat over here going crazy. The Mossi came from the Moorish backing. Boy, stop. The Mossi wasn't messing with no Islam, dog. They wasn't messing with no Islam. They wasn't messing with no Christianity. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, bro, my West African ancestors was not playing. They was not playing no games. Islam ain't just come through like it did in certain other places in Africa. That ain't no slight, but you know, hey, we weren't playing no games in West Africa, man. And you know, we got Kofi Piesie TV.com. But yeah, man, we got a lot of things on here. Before I get to the actual merch, we got featured videos, we got articles, we got a link that takes you directly to the channel. We have videos that you can take quizzes for. We have suggested reading lists and all that. So you know, this right here is the actual learning market. But to be honest with you, the whole website is a learning market, dog. The whole website is a learning market. We got Spears of the Mossi, Volume 1, Spears of the Mossi, From Spears to Pens, Volume 2, One Night Before Bed, Kalawa Stripped to the Motherland, Cocaine to Consciousness, As I learned, we all learn spiritual combat. And we got recently, we just dropped quiz and educational cards. It's a 54 deck, just like a 54 deck of playing cards, but they actually educational cards. You actually gonna learn something from these. You know what I'm saying? You can still place your bets. You know, black folks like to gamble. You can still place your bets. You know what I'm saying? You can still gamble with it. But at the end of the day, you're gonna learn something. You're gonna take something away from that experience. So, you know, and that's what we do. That's what we like to do as a team. Make sure you learn something and take something away from each experience that you have. So I'm gonna take this link. I'm gonna drop that in the chat. Make sure you pick up something, man. We're not one of these crews out here that just throwing out cash apps and saying, yo, cash app this, cash app. You know, I respect that if you're somebody that's actually giving substantial information. But a lot of these people, they not. They're giving out crumbs of misinformation and asking to be compensated for that. We don't do that over here. If you want to contribute in a monetary fashion, then we have merchandise for that. We don't need something for nothing. We have books for that. We have quiz cards for that. We have clothing for that. You know what I'm saying? What up, Sutekh?
So with it.
Shit, man. I'm actually closing out. But yeah, I was just letting them know, man. We ain't one of them teams that expect something for nothing. You know, like I said, it's a lot of people that ask that throw their cash up out there. Some of them giving substantial information, in which I respect that. They should be compensated. But some of them out here throwing out pseudo crumbs of misinformation and expecting to be compensated for that. And I don't respect that. Like, we're not one of those people. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to contribute, we have merchandise for that in the form of monetary gains. If you want to tribute, we have merchandise for that. If you want to just contribute in another fashion, contribute in the form of liking the show, contribute in the form of sharing the show, comment on the videos, even after the live streams are done. You know what I'm saying? Critique, respectful critique. We appreciate all that, man. We appreciate all that. We appreciate our loyal followers and supporters that's here with us all the time, every time we go live. And I'm gonna do something for y'all soon. Any one of y'all, some of y'all haven't had the opportunity to get volume 3 yet, and but y'all have been loyal followers. So I'm gonna bless a couple of y'all, a few of y'all. Just be on the lookout for that. But you know, as of right now, man, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with the kid, man. I'm gonna play y'all out, and we gonna get out.
Log in to KofiPiesieTV.com and get Spears of the Mossi Volume 1 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Piesie Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Kalfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Piesie, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Kalfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Piesie. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, family. Connect Apparel and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPiesieTV.com.